Today, we're going to be talking about the best way to prepare for your pet's crossing from my experience as an animal communicator. Hi, my name is Danielle MacKinnon. I am an animal communicator. That means pet psychic. Yes, I talk to animals psychically and share their messages with their humans. Today, we're going to be talking about the best way to prepare for your pet's crossing from my experience as an animal communicator. So we're going to start off by talking a little bit about the crossing over process, what is really happening there that kicks that off, because it's really important for you to understand that in order to then understand the second part of this video, which is going to be about what you can do to assist in your pet's crossing over process. How often do you feel bad about yourself? How often do you feel jealous? How often do you feel like maybe you're not good enough? All of these are variations of the I have not mastered unconditional love theme, because we as humans have not mastered unconditional love. Animals, on the other hand, they have mastered it. They feel good about themselves. They trust in themselves, and they trust in the natural order of things. And so since animals have mastered unconditional love, they do everything they can to assist us in mastering unconditional love, which means assisting us in becoming the best people that we can be. Now, how do they do this? And remember, I'm still getting to, hey, here's what's happening with the crossing over process. Here's what kicks it off. And then we're going to go to that number one thing that you can do to help your pet cross over in the most gentle way. So animals will use whatever they can to help us better ourselves. When things in our life are going really, really well, what do? Nothing. We're like, cool, everything's great. I'm going to keep this. I'm going to keep things the way they are. When things are not going well, what do? We try to make changes. We switch it up. We try new things. Animals are very aware of how we as humans operate and what makes us grow. So a lot of animals, not a lot, all animals, what they do is they use behavior. They use whatever they can to create in us kind of an emotional response. So my dog Bella, who used to jump up and down like crazy when people came over the house, created an emotional response in me of, and this is the thing, oh my God, I suck. I must be a terrible animal communicator because I can't make my dog do what I want her to do. Now, Bella, as it turns out, was doing that on purpose. She was creating in me an emotional response so that I would deal with those feelings of, wow, I don't believe in myself. I'm not a good animal communicator. I'm not good enough. As I began to pay attention to my feelings and emotions and the beliefs behind that, and those things began to shift into the positive, Bella stopped jumping up and down on people at the door when they came to visit. So her behavior was directly related to my thoughts, feelings, experiences, and my own soul's evolution. Now, this is really important, and I wrote about it in my Animal Lessons book, which you can go to animallessons.com and get, or Amazon, or wherever you want. Because I actually bring you through the whole process. I'm not bringing you through the process today. I want you to understand what's happening so that you can understand the bigger picture. You have to keep this in mind when we start talking about an animal crossing over. Animals plan their passing based on how well they've been doing their work with their human, meaning you. They plan their passing based on how well they've been doing their work with their human. And when they've done all the work that they came here to do, they cross over, or they leave your life. Now, in this instance, for this video, we're going to talk about it. We're going to ignore the leave your life part, and we're going to go with the crossing over. We're going to say that's the angle. Now, so when Bella had done enough for me and helped me learn to feel good about myself to the degree that she felt at a much deeper level she could, this is when her opportunity to cross over came up. Animals, though, use their crossing over in order to help us learn, grow, and evolve as well. Whatever method an animal chooses for crossing over, that animal intends at the soul level to help you grow and evolve your soul. Let's say that you're working on in this lifetime believing in yourself and trusting yourself and trusting your intuition and trusting that you can do something well. Well, an animal, your pet, may decide, hey, you know what? I'm going to cross over soon. And so I see Danielle and I see that she doesn't trust her instincts. So I'm going to cross over in a way that forces her to have to trust her instincts. And that will be the next lesson she learns through me. It really depends on what that animal determines at the bigger, deeper level will most help you grow and evolve as to how that animal chooses to cross over. So somebody who, for example, has a challenge around overgiving and feels guilty all the time Well, that animal may decide, you know what, I'm going to cross over and I'm going to cross over really, really, really fast so that I don't bring up the guilt and that doesn't take away from her opportunity to grow and evolve. Or that animal maybe like, all right, no. I'm going to take a really long time to cross over and give her the opportunity to experience a lot of guilt so that eventually she realizes how fruitless this guilt is, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So every method, every single way that an animal chooses to cross over, including an accident, including something mean that happened, basically including it all, right? Even the bad stuff. However that animal chooses to pass, you can honor that animal by doing your work around that passing. What could you possibly learn from this crossing over? What could this animal possibly be trying to get you to understand about yourself or accept about yourself? And it's always going to be something positive. What can this animal get you to accept about yourself through his or her passing? All right, so every passing has to do with a lesson that your pet wants you to learn. And knowing that your animal is trying to teach you a lesson through the way that they're passing can actually help you deal with their upcoming passing. But there's another piece here as well, because there's that deeper level, soul level, we're all trying to grow, there's a lesson here kind of thing going on. But there's also that animal still has a physical body. That animal's still going to experience pain. If the animal's choosing to cross over because of an illness or an accident or whatever it is, that stuff still happens. And so, yes, we've got that soul level piece, but now we've also got this physical level piece. And there is one thing that you can do that's really, really effective and helpful to helping your pet cross over and have a better experience of it. So the first thing to know is that an animal that is crossing over, the spirit starts to leave the body, and I do have videos on this. The spirit starts to actually leave the body before the final death happens. That means that they're disconnected from their body a bit. And that also means that they're disconnected from the pain and the suffering as well. So I just want to put that out there so that you can understand there is a spiritual process here that is taking place. It's not just dead. So when I connect with an animal that's about to cross over, they are not in the amount of pain that we would perceive them to be if they were not about to cross over. But the one thing that they ask from their humans all the time is that the human treat them as normally as possible. Animals don't want to be hovered upon. They don't want to be babied. Unless that's the normal way. They want to be treated in their normal way while they go through this process. And there's a reason for this. It's a big deal. let's say you don't baby your cat ever. That's not a normal thing, but now your cat's about to pass and now you're acting all different and your energy's all upset and you're hovering and doing all this stuff. Well, not only is this cat now dealing with, hey, my spirit's leaving my body, I'm starting to do the disconnect, the cat also has to deal with, but what's going on with her? And now her energy's all over me. And what is it? And it's too much. They want everything to be as normal as possible. So the way that you can help your pet cross over and give them the feeling of satisfaction that they've done their job and be present for them is to learn the lesson, or look around and try to learn the lesson that they want you to learn, and at the same time treat them as normally as you can throughout the crossing over or the leading up to the crossing over process.